Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today I have for you something random from almost an old time capsule. It's this 1965 Canadian dollar set, which is kind of similar to our 1982 penny set in that there's a couple different varieties having to do with different counterpoints. So this actually has four main varieties with either a pointed 5 or a blunt 5. Then you have either the large beads or the small beads. And what's interesting on these is it gets so confusing because you have to use both sides of the coin because the beading is only on the queen side. And then, of course, the date's on the other side. So let's first look at the pointed 5 versus the blunt 5 and see what those look like. So none of these have a really high premium to them. Your pointed 5, that the bottom of that 5, ironically comes to a point, whereas on the blunt 5, it just comes to a complete stop, right? So if you look here, the 5 just comes to a complete stop at the end. It's almost parallel with the back side of the 5. And then on the ones with the pointed 5, you've got a little bit of an angle to that bottom, to the base part of the 5. A little bit of an angle to that, right? So pointed 5 versus blunt 5. And then on the other side, we have large beads and small beads. Now, the 5s are a lot easier to tell, like if you get used to seeing what they look like, that if you just get a bunch of 1965 Canadian dollars in, you can probably start to sort them out pretty easy. The beads, it takes a little bit more getting used to, because if I just had one of these dollars, and I've had experience with the pointed 5 versus the blunt 5, I could tell you which one it is. But if I don't have the beads to compare to one another, and if I don't have both types of the beads to compare to one another, I'd have a real hard time telling the difference on the size of the beads. If I just had this coin here, it'd be pretty easy for me to look at it and say, okay, is this the 5 that's blunt or pointed? And I could say, once it's in focus, well, that's the blunt. It's just straight all the way across. See that how the 5 lines up, just all the way across the back. But I probably wouldn't be able to look at it and say, is that the large or the small beads? So these are the larger beads and to the right, and then the smaller beads to the left. When you can see both coins at the same time, it's like, well, okay. Otherwise, sometimes people will say to count them. If I just had these, I'm not sure that I would necessarily pick out the smaller beads. And if I just had these, I don't know if that I'd call them the larger beads, because without the other one to compare to, it's really hard to tell. Because if you were only looking at these, you'd be like, those beads are really small, but the small beads are really tiny. But unless you have them both in front of you, it's kind of hard to tell. So they made over 10 million of these coins total. They're not rare coins. I think nice examples of each one sell for and trade at something like 25 to 35 bucks a piece, depending. I will say that this coin here has a real nice look to it overall, if you want to get technical with grading. But I don't think anyone takes the time to grade these coins because they are generally not that expensive of coins. But it looks like there's one cherry in the bunch, and the other ones are all probably average. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. I've been the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.